Back to the Future needs a remake. I said it, it's not a joke, and it's not clickbait. This is coming from a lifelong fan of the franchise with all of the reverence and respect for the original trilogy. There's 3 great reasons why I believe this needs to happen. And please, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree, or am I completely wrong?
Oh, you make it sound so easy. I wish I wasn't so scared.
Firstly, it's worth addressing the most public, most matter-of-fact, and most respected thought holders when it comes to Back to the Future: Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis. If the thought of a sequel in the beloved franchise made Gale liken it to selling your kids into prostitution,
ooh la la,
then the chances of this actually happening
ooh la la,
are slim enough. Couple that with Zemeckis going on record stating, that can't happen until both Bob and I are dead. And then I'm sure they'll do it, unless there's a way our estates can stop it. I'm pretty sure this is a definitive
no! Oh, please, God, no!
Maybe this whole video idea is over before it ever started.
Read my
No!
facts!
Please, no, I cannot be fired! I'm fired! Ah!
Bah, there's no fun in that. So let's talk about point number 1. Remakes versus reboots versus remasters. It's important to understand what the difference is in approach to then understand the angle I think a Back to the Future made in the present day should take. A remake is a film or a piece of music that has been filmed or recorded again. The best and worst version of this is 1998's Psycho, a remake of the Hitchcock film from 1960. It's literally a shot-for-shot remake matching everything that was done in the original. A Star is Born is the other notable example, having had versions produced in 1937, 1954, 1976, and 2018. A reboot is restarting or reviving a process or sequence, especially a series of films or television programs, and given fresh impetus to. So films like The Force Awakens are considered a soft reboot, and also a glaringly obvious remake at the same time. It brought Star Wars back into the zeitgeist in a big way. It's the same approach that franchises like Ghostbusters, Star Trek, Batman, or Spider-Man have taken, bringing a fresh look and feel to a tried and true formula. And remember this, as this will become very important soon. A remaster is a change in the sound or image quality of a previously created form of media. So to best describe this, we actually need to sidestep over to video games. No, not that game. At least, not yet. We'll get to that later. Remastering music or films is common, but it's the world of video games that sees the largest benefit. Taking a low-res, low-polygon count game from 20 plus years ago and remastering it with all of the tools of today presents a vast difference in quality. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are just that. The original is a classic from the PlayStation 1 in 1997, and it has been remade and remastered across 3 new games. But it has been modernised and reinterpreted along the way. It's even taken the opportunity to position itself in an alternate reality, where the new game features whispers that control destiny,
like capital D? Destiny?
and ensure the events of the present day game mimic the original. It's very meta of them. It's a modernisation and reinterpretation that only a remake could do. Now there's lots more I could go into on this topic, but Mark Brown from Game Maker's Toolkit best describes this in relation to Capcom and Resident Evil. I'll link it down below. And it was this quote that really rang true for me.
A remake of a game can deliver a new experience to players while also touching upon the memories we have of the original, which is an appeal that is different from the appeal of a completely new game.
It may seem I've gone more off the rails than a train into Eastwood Ravine, but all of this is relevant. See, the opportunity to take the world of Back to the Future and create something new with it, specifically for modern times and audiences, while knowing that the originals have happened and are so fondly remembered, is an opportunity well worth exploring. It just needs to feel authentic to the idea of Back to the Future, not necessarily be a direct remake of the original or even a sequel or part 4. The original trilogy will not be erased
From existence.
Which leads me perfectly to my second point, gatekeeping. Denying other people's access or the right to enjoy what they want to enjoy, within legal reason of course, is a downright selfish thing to do. Now I haven't seen you up in arms about the Back to the Future musical, or the 5-part Telltale game, or this How to Tell the Time book. Nobody should stop you from enjoying these things in the Back to the Future universe, nor should they take anything away from the original existing. It's still there, hasn't changed.
What happens to us in the future? What do we become, assholes or something?
Oh, no.
It reminds me of when Metallica and Master of Puppets blew up across social media thanks to it being a killer plot point in the latest season of Stranger Things. Now, almost 40 years after its original release, Master of Puppets found its way onto the Billboard Hottest 100 chart, the first time ever it has appeared on this chart. Well, sure enough, all of this new attention drew the ire of the die-hard Metallica fans, mocking the fake fans
You are fake news.
for jumping on a bandwagon. Perfect example of gatekeeping. Thankfully, Metallica came out and stated everyone is welcome in the Metallica family. Whether you've been a fan for 40 hours or 40 years, we all share a bond through music.
People should have access to the music that they love. And if people try to make it difficult for someone else to get access to that music, that's a bummer, and that shouldn't be.
Finding ways to create new fans is pretty metal. Weird finger twitch there. Speaking of fans, I figured you might be thinking, well, this Mac guy sure does present some valid arguments, however, Back to the Future is different to all of those other examples. Well, I don't just like Back to the Future, I adore it. All it took was burning through a taped off TV VHS of part 2 hundreds of times before seeing the original film and having the entire plot hit me like a lightning strike, and I was obsessed. So obsessed, in fact, I travelled to LA in 2015 for a 5-day fan event called We're Going Back, celebrating the 30th anniversary of the film, with my mum. And yes, we went to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance together, and all of these other amazing places from the films. And we both rode hoverboards, though this is the only footage my mum took of me. Yeah, that's me having ridden a hoverboard. Thanks, Mum. But I have also amassed a huge collection of Back to the Future stuff. Like this poster, this DeLorean, this DeLorean, this DeLorean, and this DeLorean, this number plate, the hoverboard, this book, Monopoly, this dirty mug, this bear brick, and this bear brick, this little Marty, this little Doc, this little Marty, and Griff, this scale action figure. He's seen better days. This mug, Pop Doc, this book, these records, and these newspapers. I think it's too much stuff. And if that wasn't enough, I've also seemingly manifested a world in which I've been able to make not 1, but 3 Back to the Future parodies for work. Like hiring a DeLorean, the costumes, the music, the whole bit. 3 times. It actually led to me receiving the greatest email I've ever been sent. I asked Dave, the DeLorean guy, for his rates for the 3rd time, as it had been a few years. And he said, here's the day rate, though just let me know how long you need it, and I'll get you a price because you're a frequent flyer with the DeLorean. Life made. So it's safe to say, there's a lot on the line for me here. So why mess with a good, or some may argue perfect, thing? I say why not? We're in a time where the cultural touchpoints would be just as strong as they were in the original. Marty goes back and forward 30 years from 1985. So if we took just that idea today, you're going back to 1994 and forward to 2054. Just think about how much the 90s are revered today. Now, thrust a present day teenager into that era, along with their typically 90s parents, and all of a sudden the idiosyncrasies of the time really shine. Then, considering just how fearful we are today for the future with the climate and global politics and more, looking forward to 2054 presents a creative goldmine. Plus, it's hard to look past the opportunity that the original trilogy has paved the way for, actually predicting the future. We don't have the time nor the philosophy majors to get into a did Back to the Future directly influence the future by predicting a future people like, so therefore channeled resources into creating that future discussion. But it's safe to say if we want the future to be a positive, setting up a feature film with a future we would all want to strive for isn't the worst option imaginable.
I mean, how can all this be happening? It's like we're in hell or something.
No, it's Hill Valley, although I can't imagine hell being much worse.
And the other thing to consider is that today's effects are leaps and bounds beyond what the originals could muster. Remember, I love the originals and all of the quirks of their time, but can you imagine how incredible a body double scene would be today? And I can't believe I'm about to say this while I'm trying to win an argument, but for all of its flaws, the Flash movie had some great body double effects. 2 Barry Allens interacting seamlessly with each other was great, and it's straight out of Back to the Future too. You know that entire McFly family scene with the dehydrated pizza? Just what could that look like 30 years on? I bring this up not just to say, well, special effects are good now, so we need a new movie, but rather, in the hands of a talented and caring writer and director, a new Back to the Future could be something special. A fresh look and feel to a tried and true formula. Delivering a new experience to audiences while also touching upon the memories we have of the original, which is an appeal that is different from the appeal of a completely new film. I can't help but think about how, as a dad, I'm so excited to share some of my favourite things with my kids.
But your kids are gonna love it.
But I know that the original Back to the Future trilogy would mean absolutely nothing to them. But what if they had their own film that spoke to audiences in the same way, that captured the imagination of today's viewers while still reminding us of our own? At the risk of pulling on a very loose thread just as I'm trying to bring this baby in for a landing, it's like what the 3 distinct trilogies of Star Wars have shown us. Each trilogy exists as a certain generation's Star Wars. I was a kid right when the prequels came out, right in that sweet spot to be captured by pod racing, Duel of the Fates, and Jar Jar Binks. It opened the door to an entire galaxy far, far away that I may not have been exposed to were it not for those films. And the same, I'm sure, has happened with the sequel trilogy. A whole generation of Star Wars fans were found through Rey, Finn, and BB-8. So gatekeeping Back to the Future, just because the original trilogy is incredible, isn't good enough. Let's reboot Back to the Future, remake it for an audience of today and see what happens. The best thing is, for whoever takes on the project, the new Back to the Future hasn't been written yet.
So make it a good one.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. Now, if you're in the mood for another hot take, you'll love watching why Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Because it's not.